We're wrapping up almost on the tail end of a sermon series on healthy family, healthy Christian families. Let me move this stand so they can see your lovely face. On healthy Christian families, and so we've been talking about this every single week. The healthy Christian family is one in which, of all kinds, right, we are meeting the physical, emotional, mental, social, spiritual needs of every single member of the family according to the teaching of Jesus. So he's why we do what we do. He's where we get our instruction. Each person in the family feels loved and respected and bonded, and they're connected to the family. They're a unit. They feel like they're a unit. And then that family unit is resilient. They can process things together. And so we're reflecting on that. We're talking about the marriage between a man and woman and what it means to be a husband and wife. And then we're going to shift this morning and talk about parenting. And we have 2 weeks on this. And so a healthy Christian family, when you do have children, right, when you do have them, you're committed to being a healthy Christian parent. When I was doing this sermon and writing it, getting it all ready together, I thought I was very excited about it. And I thought I could preach on this for a long time. I thought, no, I don't do that. We have some classes coming up. We're going to do more of this, but I want to cover at least 2 weeks on Christian parenting. Praise God, some of you people got a lot of kids. We have a lot of kids here. We've been averaging well over 50 kids every Sunday here at Hill Church. Sometimes we're pushing almost 70 kids. And so praise Jesus. Isn't that good? Yeah. I think it's fantastic. Fantastic. And so when the kids go down, a big army goes up and a stampede. It's great. So when we do my parenting, I was working on this sermon series. I thought I talked to Elaine, of course. I always talk to her about sermons coming almost always. And this one in particular, I said, I really would love to have you up there with me so we can have a dialogue together. And so we did. So I wrote this. We dialogued this together. And so we're going to go through this pretty quickly this morning. So the very, very first thing is that makes you understand is what children are born with. Go ahead, Elaine.
Yeah, so children are born with so much already. They're not broken yet, right? They have so many things that
That's right. That's right.
that they're
not
born
broken yet.
with. They're curious, they're social, they're hopeful, and they're inclusive. So if you think about seeing this around children, you see children go and pick up bugs and put them in their mouth, right? They're checking things out. They're going around the room. They're not necessarily afraid yet of stairs and things. They are social. They want to be around people. You see introverted babies, but they want to be around somebody. They're hopeful. You don't see many depressed babies. If you smile at a baby, they often smile back. And they are inclusive. Babies and children, as they get old, well, when they get older, it gets a little bit worse. But if you look at a class of, let's say, preschool kids, they might be different colors. They might look different. They might be different heights and things like that. But they play together. They're not going, oh, he's this and he's that. They're not racist, right? And they play together. So they're inclusive. So they have all these things built in. And then we can parent them in such a way that changes. But we can also take the things that are already built in and make them even better.
Yeah, we can blow it.
We can.
Right. So babies are born, amen. So babies are born with a lot of healthy features already. They're not perfect, but they're born with healthy features. And just as you said properly, these kind of stuff, they have to be disabused of these healthy features. Parenting, bad parenting, has to take this away from them. They have to be taught to be racist. They have to be taught that the world is scary and you should never, ever trust people. You have to be taught not to express your emotions because those are bad and embarrassing and shameful. Unless you're a guy, you can be angry, and a girl can, that's really it. You can feel shameful if you're a girl. Can you be, no, yet
Girls can cry.
No, they
yeah.
apologize for that.
Oh, yeah.
Even
yeah.
then they feel shame. I'm sorry. Their eyes get just barely moist. I'm sorry. You better be sorry. It's a sin to cry. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So they have to be ruined. I love that. We were talking about this, we're talking about going to prison ministry. You go to prison, one of the first things you do is you find out where your club is, right? That's the Hispanic group and the black group and the white group and that gang and that gang. You get in your little clans, your cliques very quickly. Imagine going to a toddler nursery room. You go nursery, oh, look at that gang and that gang and that gang. There's Hispanic babies. Woo! And there's the white baby.
That's right.
Never in a million years.
But
Never in a million years.
as they get older in school, they do that, but it's because they learn social cues and what's okay and what's not. Yeah.
So they know the distinction. All that to say, bad parenting can take all these away. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm saying this real quick and I'll move on. I'll say more about this next week. And that is to say, when we cover this talk today and next week, some of these things might be really triggering for you. Mm-hmm. Some of these things might really hit on close to home issues for you. You were taught incorrectly, and it's going to be a very terrible setting for you. So we'll talk more about that as we go on, but I recognize that and understand that some of these things might be triggering for you. You might have had bad parenting. I know you had imperfect parenting because your parents weren't Jesus. That may be hard for you to admit that. But none of us as parents are perfect. So kids are born with a lot of healthy features. Not all healthy features, but a lot of them. Mm-hmm. So, a couple key features about parenting before we move on to how to do it. To remind us parents, I say this when we do baby dedications here. We say this all the time. It's still true. The children aren't yours. They're not mine. They belong to God. I need it to sit in because this is one of the most common misunderstandings in parenting. You may have never said it this way, but parents often act this way. They act like children are extensions of themselves. This is especially true for narcissists. You think children are little trophies to make you look good. And that's why the little girl has to be so pretty and your boy has to sit up straight and be so quiet and be all handsome and cute, because you deep inside need people to praise you about how well behaved your kids look. They're extensions of you. That's right. They are prim and proper. Don't you do that. You represent the Pendergrass name when you leave here. You're an extension of me. What you do reflects on me. It's profoundly wrong. They're not our properties. Slaves are property. Right? That chair is my vehicle is my property. I can do what I want to with my property. But children are not your property. They're not your pets. Pets are groomed. They're there to make sure we feel good. They comfort us. We keep them nice and pretty. So they bring nothing but enjoyment to us. We don't like pets that make us upset, that pee on the floor like this morning my dumb dog did. That makes us mad. When Hayden does that, I'm furious. I have to remember, he's not my pet. He's not my pet. Sometimes boys pee on the floor. I tell them this all the time. They're not extensions. They're not properties. They're not pets. They're not there for my entertainment. They're not there for your grandparents' entertainment to make sure they feel good about themselves. Parents are supposed to be just stewards. They're just stewards. And you say, oh, Dave, I don't believe that. Well, I hope you start believing it, because everything is God's, including you, including these chairs, including this church, this building, and the vehicles we own. All of us are stewards. They're human beings. When a baby comes out of the womb, before the baby comes out of the womb, that child is God's, because everything is God's. We're just stewards of God's things. And here it's a person, which means by definition, parenting is a temp job. It's just a temporary job, and your job is to make sure this little baby apprentice learns how to live life. Their job is deal with life, and every single thing you do, they're watching the apprentice. They're watching the master.
Yeah, and you can certainly see the watch and learn kind of thing. If any of you are on social media, I bet you are, you've probably seen the videos of toddlers walking around saying cuss words. Anybody seen that before? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Do you think they learned that from watching Cocomelon? No, they learned it from their parents. They watch, they copy. You'll often see little girls embracing baby dolls. You'll see little boys play a little rougher sometimes, and they're often, some of that's just built in, but then some of that is copying their parents. The way that you speak, the things that you say, the phrases you use, the things that you do, they will copy. So we need to remember that.
Yeah. I've seen those little baby girls want to nurse, but they're like 4 years old.
Holding a baby doll.
I don't have milk.
Yeah.
Where's my milk?
Yeah, they've watched their mamas.
I had to watch a mama. I hope
That's
not the
right.
daddy. That's a different sermon.
Even like last week, we saw several families here, decked out in either their Bears or their Packers.
The Packers
I
outfit.
bet if I ask the kids, if I do, and I have downstairs, who's your team? I'm Bears. I'm Packers. I'm whatever. And that's because their families cheer for those teams. So, yeah.
When I first met Elaine, her whole family was Florida State fans because they're from
Go
Sarasota.
Noles.
So that's what our family. We're Florida's like that's our pack. That's our tribe. But she didn't come out of the womb with FSU jersey on. Their dad would have liked that, but she didn't. She came out differently. But she had to be taught that. But if you think about that for a second, parents, I was really, when I was doing this sermon, I've been thinking, of course, for weeks on and weeks and weeks and weeks, and of course, been teaching on it for years. But it hit me all over again how much this apprentice-master relationship is a good relationship. That is a good analogy. Everything that our children see about the world, they're learning from it. They're being an apprentice, whether we like it or not. They watch us how we talk to people, how we talk about people. What kind of movies is okay to watch? TV shows okay to watch? What we eat. What do we do when we're bored? What do we do when we're angry, when we're stressed? Everything we're doing, they're watching every single word to see.
Yeah,
That's
when
how
our
I do
kids
life.
were younger, they would want something at a restaurant. I want more ketchup or whatever. And I go, okay. And Dave would go, nope. They need to ask for it. So the waitress or waiter would come over and we'd tell them kind of what to say and do. But yeah, teaching them even from when they're little to start doing that, because that apprentice model is really effective. It really is. They think about in the workforce too. when people work under somebody that's an expert and then they begin to get a little bit of responsibility and then they do more and then they take over. It's a very effective teaching style, even in the workforce. So certainly we're doing it whether we like it or not, because they get to be around us. Our kids get to be around us when we're sick, when we're happy, when we're sad, all of the things. Not that we're going to be perfect. Certainly we're going to fail. But as a general rule, what are we doing? Because they're watching.
Which is why it's terrifying to be a parent.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Because they're watching every single thing.
Yes.
Because of that, all right, well, if the goal is to train them as little apprentices, what's our number one chief job? What is it not, Elaine? What do parents say out there? What is our job not to do?
To keep them happy.
Why,
Have you heard so many
Elaine?
times on TV, oh, I just want my kids to be happy.
Why not? What's
Well,
wrong? You
what
want
if
to be
they're,
miserable?
yeah, what if they might be happy doing drugs. They might be happy, cussing somebody out. We don't know what makes people happy. People are happy about some strange things. Our job is not to make them happy. Our job is instead.
Drum roll. Your number one job as a parent is to instill character.
Yep.
I cannot overemphasize this fact. Doctors Cloud and Townsend, two different authors, are fantastic on this. They're exactly right. Your number one job as a parent, if you think your number one job is to make sure your child is happy, you are sabotaging them. Reality doesn't work that way. You train them how to be a drug addict or an entitled brat, because everyone wants to be happy all the time, chases addictions, chases endorphins. Now, I understand, like, be happy meaning if I don't care what the decision is, these are all good moral choices, I get it. But in general, our number one goal as parents is to instill good character, healthy Christian character. And character is somewhat difficult to define, but it's that amalgam, that joining together of all your individual traits, thoughts, your beliefs, everything on the inside, your inner self. You know what your character is because it is expressed on the outside. You'll see your character by the choices you make. You'll see your character by the behavior you have and by how you interact with other people. It comes out that way. So if you really want to know what a person's character is, watch how they make choices and behavior and so forth. So character is that internal, what I would call a toolbox to deal with reality. Say more about the toolbox.
Yeah, well, let me say this first. Kids do get character lessons in school. It's very common for the school counselor to come in and give a lesson on character education, so they learn how to be courageous and kind and what's another one? Perseverance and respect and those kind of things, which are very good things. They're valuable things to teach, but Christian character is left out, right? So our kids are learning, those of our kids that are going to school are learning some character things. They're being taught deliberately, but the Christian part is left out. So yeah, we have to help. We have to be the ones to instill the right tools in their toolbox so that when our kids go out to school and something is said or done that doesn't fit with what Jesus would do, they have a tool to go, what do I do? Do I blend in? Do I say something? How do I say it? All the different things. We're helping them with that toolbox.
The other day I asked Roger Wall to come over and help me get this refrigerator in the house. I was going to surprise you at home. Is Roger here? Man, everyone's skipping church. I'm setting him up. So Roger came over to help me put this refrigerator in the house, and he comes in. Roger has his big old toolbox bag. This big old chunk, a manly toolbox. I mean, whatever that means to you. Anyway, and it's worn out. You tell us he's been on, it's Roger, so he's fixed everything there is to fix. And so and I saw that, oh, cool, look at all of his tools, and he's kind of a nerd. And he's got this, he's ready to go, and I thought how true that is. He doesn't know exactly what the job's going to be. He doesn't precisely know what the problem's going to be. He knows his tools. And he also knows if he solved the problem, we need a blank, and I've got it. See, that toolbox is, we all know this, a lot of you are working this kind of industry, you have your favorite toolbox, tool bag, and you pop that thing out, you'll know exactly, oh, you need a wrench, oh, you need a saw, oh, here's what you need a table saw, I don't have it, but I know someone. Here's exactly what you need to address reality. And your character decides that, whether you have it to meet reality well. Most people don't have a thoroughgoing toolbox. So when you don't have the tool you need, you freak out, you struggle with terrible anxiety or addictions, or maybe you have a little pretend or a little broken toolbox your parent put in there. The point is, that's what's supposed to happen. Parents are supposed to give us, we train us to be the kind of people who can address reality, people, environment, ourselves, well. I know what I got for that. Oh, I got homework, boom, got it. Responsibility, resilience. So-and-so was mean to me, got it. Yep, that's how I treat like Jesus. Grace, compassion, loving, forgiveness. What? I'm happy? Good. I know how to celebrate. Oh, that fell through. Well, I know I do. I'm going to be sad for a little bit and process that grief. What's next? What's next? What's next? So on this next slide is kind of wordy, but I'm going to go quickly on it. But that is to say, to make sure we're all clear, these are the kinds of things that people with healthy Christian character can do. These are the kinds of things. Elaine, do you want to read these?
Sure. So they love themselves while not always liking their behavior. These are not people who are saying, oh, I'm stupid, I'm bad, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a klutz, I'm whatever. Those are not the things that they do. They love themselves. They're assertive in their own opinions and needs. So they say what they think and what they feel. They're humble. They're not focused on me, look at me, this is what I want, all of that. They freely express any emotional state in a healthy, appropriate ways. If they're sad, they can be sad. If they're angry, they can be angry appropriately, right? They recover from distressing emotional states, resilience. A lot of people don't have resilience. They can be broken down and they cannot pick back up. They consider problems from a Christian perspective. They seek external help and resources when they need. They know who to ask. They know where to go for help. They sustain periods of stress and delay gratification or good feelings, which is, we don't see that happen a lot today. They lose well, they grieve, they let go, and then they realize I can't always get a win. They relate to people with patience and grace and generosity, and they admit and confess when they're wrong, and they forgive. And I'm thinking as we go through those, like admit and confess when they're wrong. I know a lot of people, and I know a lot of kids, and kids lie. Adults do too. But a lot of parents just assume that the kids are telling the truth, but they don't call them on it and make them confess. And so when they're caught in a situation in a job one day, or when they lie to their spouse one day, they're not going to know what to do and how to get around that. So that's just one example.
Oh, yeah, exactly right. I mean, a whole host of, we could spend a lot of time here, but yeah, all this, I hear and see this, of course, in my own life too, and especially in your life. I see a lot of healthy examples for what I'm kidding.
My toolbox.
Your toolbox. Her toolbox was a fist. She's about to beat. These are what healthy Christians do.
Right.
I mean, think about it for a second. They are able to express themselves. They feel no embarrassment. They never apologize for showing emotions in healthy ways. They don't do that. They freely express themselves. They think of an issue or problem. They go, what would Jesus do in this situation? They're quickly to say, listen, I don't have all the resources I need. I'm going to get help. I'm really struggling with blank. I'm going to get help. When I had struggle with the refrigerator, I called Roger Wall. Mm-hmm. I didn't even pray about it. I just called Roger. He's just, of course I did, because I need the help to do this. When I need emotional help, I'll go talk to a counselor. When I have a bum knee problem, I'll go talk to a doctor. Healthy people go, I need help. Mm-hmm. And there's no shame in that. And I relate to people well, on and on it goes. They're assertive, the sense of, say, I have a self, I have an opinion, and my opinion matters. I might be mistaken, but I have a self. I don't like Taco Bell. I mean, just say it. Where would you like to eat? I don't know. What do you want? I'm not looking at anybody. Just looking past you. I'm looking around.
I just learned recently of one of our friends who hates a certain restaurant in town, and we'd gone there several times with that person. Mm. And the person didn't tell me, but I finally know, and now I know.
Now you know.
But it could have told me up front, we wouldn't have gone there.
What's
anymore.
her name? Tell everybody right now. What does it rhyme with?
He's bad. No, but it's hard to be assertive sometimes, but to do it in a Christian way, you're not bad if you say, I don't prefer that, right?
Yeah, assertive. Yeah, it means you're able to express what you want. So you can see these. We could spend a long time here, but we won't. So when we talk about Christian character, these are the kind of things we're trying to train our children to be able to do. Mm-hmm. So having said that.
And you will post this slide later because we need to, a lot to.
It's on the app right now.
A lot
and I'll put it on
take
Facebook. Yeah, it's a lot. But since it's not a sermon on how to build character, but character in children, we're going to move on. There are 4 major things in our own parenting, and I think, and I can counsel people, 4 major features of how to build character in your kids. These are the 4 areas, 4 things you focus on to build healthy character in your kids. And today we're only going to cover 2 because of time. The first, so here are the 4. Here are the 4 things you do to cover healthy character. You have to give your children unconditional love. I'm going to unpack that a little bit. You have to give them discipline. You have to give them freedom, and you have to give them Christian values. Mm-hmm. It seems to me if you focus on those 4 areas, I'll unpack those briefly, that you're going to build character in your child. Mm-hmm. Unconditional love, discipline, freedom, and Christian values. So the first thing is, of course, unconditional love. Unconditional love is agape. I mean, that's the Greek word for agape. It means I unconditionally care for your good. I never stop caring for your good.
Doesn't mean we love what they do. but we
Right.
love the person.
Right, the person. Now, how do I do that? How do I build that in its character? I say it all the time. I text it all the time. I email it. I smoke signal it. Morse code, Snapchat. I want my children to hear constantly that I love them, I'm proud of them, and I also want to express that physically, of course, in appropriate ways. High fives, handshakes, pats. If it's Julia, it's a very, very short hug. She doesn't like a lot of physical touch.
She'll snuggle me sometimes
She'll
to
snuggle
show love.
sometime. She has to be real sleepy. But appropriate physical touch to demonstrate I am safe and caring. Some of you, I know, had parents who did not ever do this with you. I know that. Because I do a lot of counseling here. And I've grown up all my life. I know my parents, I knew they loved me. I've heard that at funerals many times. He didn't really say it. Well, no, he never did. But I knew deep down he loved me.
They shouldn't wonder.
They should never wonder. Your kids should never, ever, ever wonder whether or not you absolutely adore them. Every night for bed, even when they're 18 years old, you should still be texting your kids, I love you. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it. I just love you. You're my child. I'm so proud of you. If you're not always so proud of their behavior, fine, but I love you. Our relationship is not at stake. So if you didn't receive that much from your parents, you say, well, Dad, I don't know how to do that. Start doing it. Text them right now. Call them. They know. Don't ever let them assume that they know it. Say it. How many people here don't like to hear someone loves them? Good, thank you, Bill. I mean, nobody does. Okay, nobody likes to, everyone wants to be told that. So if you want to instill the character of a healthy value of themselves, that attachment is, they love me. I know it. I see it all the time. Go ahead.
And one way to help with that too is to say what you love about them. So some people are brought up, you're just so beautiful, I love you. It's not about that. We're talking character traits. So I love how you include all the other kids, even when they don't like the same things you like. I love that you're so kind and helpful when you see someone that needs a door open. I love how great you are with kids. You're complimenting those things, and they will then go, oh, that's a good thing. Let me do that again, because kids love to be praised. So do adults. And so we do that. And we play a game, sort of a game that David started years ago, and we'll sit around as a family, and especially on birthdays and things, but go, what do I love about Julia? I love that Julia is a good singer. And then David will go, I love that Julia.
I never think of anything. But not yet. It's coming. Don't give up.
Practice
You're
what you preach,
16.
boy.
So yeah, that's right.
And then
Well, it's not-
David
yeah.
Hayden will go,
We
we'll
got-
just kind of go around until we run out. And feels a little silly at first, but then you leave going, man, that's good. I like
At first,
that
the kids are
about
like,
me."
really? And then they start loving, do me.
Yeah.
So we do, but one person at a time. I'd say, what do you love about Sunday? We go around the room as many times till we run out, and you can repeat. We do just random dinner time. Then, of course, yeah, that's right. Now, that, of course, is what we praise them for. I love them no matter what.
Right.
But we praise you for things that, we praise character. And so I think my daughter is lovely and so beautiful, but that's not the top thing I praise her on. She can't control that, basically. That's all about her mom's genes. So basically, she can't, and I'm glad about that. Every time I see her, oh, you're so beautiful. Well, great, wonderful. But I'm praising her character because I want her to, that's what matters in life. And so, but all the same, verbally and physically communicate. And of course, an issue of love, if you love your child, they're going to be absolutely safe around you. Okay, I'll be honest with you. This is exactly why I started the sermon series right here. I know it's a dark topic. I know. A few months ago, it hit me. I'm so sick and tired of hearing people say they were molested. I'm so sick and tired of hearing it. Not that people tell me. I'm so sick and tired that it's happening. It is so prevalent.
I believe the number's 1 in 4 women. And that seems pretty accurate for what you see. I don't know
Yes.
the
And
guy
it's like
statistic.
1 in 8 or 1 in 10 guys. And guys typically don't tell you.
Yeah.
They've told me. And then not only is it that, and then double whammy, usually people that were very devout Christians. And triple whammy is if they told someone didn't believe them, they said get over it, or they didn't. I mean, it's horrible. And I thought, never in my entire life have I heard a preacher say, stop touching your kids. I thought, I'm going to preach a sermon where I get to say, stop touching them that way. There, I said it. Third time's a charm. Stop. If that's ever a struggle for you, please come talk to me. Kids should feel safe. They should feel safe. And the way we communicate that and we show physical safety is by making sure their physical boundaries are respected. We communicate you're safe, we demonstrate you're safe. And one of the ways we do that on a physical, emotional, and mental and spiritual safety is, of course, that is the key feature is we're protecting them from harm and danger and threats from the inside and from the outside. We're protecting them from danger and threats from the inside and the outside. The inside is you're protecting them from losing self-control and forming addictions. Stop giving babies phones and tablets to process the terrible trauma of being bored. Studies
Or to keep yourself
or to keep yourself,
calm,
get them
so
off
it's
me,
not-
get them
yeah.
off me, throw something in their face. What happens is studies demonstrate the younger that children are exposed to alcohol, cigarettes, pornography, and electronics, it is astronomically high they are going to be addicted to it. Studies also demonstrate when they start young in childhood, it's much, much more difficult to stop the addiction later in life. We need to protect them from the internal capacity of losing self-control, which forms addictions. I've counseled copious people who have struggled with that because it started in childhood. We also protect them from outside threats, right? When my children don't go in the street, right? We don't tell them any random stranger you see, run up and give a big hug and a kiss. My point is you protect them from that as best as we can.
And sometimes we do that by not saying it when someone says, give me a hug, and we hug them, or that kind of thing. But we need to instead equip our kids to say, I don't feel like giving a hug. No, thanks.
Yeah, which we'll talk a lot more later, too.
Exactly,
That's right.
but that's one example.
It's okay to
But if
do
we
this.
don't tell them, they don't know.
That's right. So we show it, we say it, and we show what's more important than saying it. But so I'm saying, I love you, love you, love you. I love you. I'm proud of you. You love your mom. You're mine. You're the best child of it. Why did God give me the best son on the planet? Why did God give me the best daughter on the daughters on the planet? I can't believe how amazing you are. I love you. And you were so safe with me. I don't make sure you feel safe. I'll tell the story real quickly. Several years ago, Julia was probably 3-ish. We were in Sugar Land. 3 or 4 years old, and Hayden was 2 years old, about 6, 7 was. And one time I was struggling with my own childhood. I was scared a lot. So I still struggle with fear a lot. And so it really hit me, and I started tearing up. I thought, to my kid, and I had this panic attack often. We talked many times about, am I scarring my children for life? Are they scared of me? We'll talk about this in a little bit. I want my kids to be scared of consequences, the fear of God, but not of me. And so I had my kids. We're sitting on a recliner. I said, come here, baby, come here, baby. So I had Hayden sitting here, and Julia. I looked at him. I said, are there any times ever you're afraid of me? And they pause and kind of smile like I'm nervous. And I go, I want you to feel safe so badly. And you're safe to say whatever's true. You're not going to be in trouble. I used to say it all the time. Not going to be in trouble. What is it? And Hayden said, I'm sorry, I think of a joke. I won't make a joke about you. Hayden said, he starts tearing up, and he said, the only time, sometimes I feel afraid of you, sometimes if I'm standing in front of the TV while you're playing a video game. And you yell, get out of the way. And he's kind of teared up. He almost never teared up. And I said, babe, I'm so very, very sorry. And as I'm saying that, Joey starts crying. I hadn't gotten to her yet. So I said, hey, I'm so sorry, baby. Is there another time? And he goes, no, that's it. And he was tearing. I said, babe, I'm sorry. I never, ever meant to scare you, and I will never do that again. I'm so glad you told me. You can always tell me. And I gave him a hug, and he goes, okay. I did never do that. Julie, what about you? She said, that was it. I think there was a time, no, then. She thought of something, too. I don't know. She said, now, Mama scares me to death. I'm kidding. That was my joke. All that to say, because it matters to me so much that they're safe. Okay, I can move on quickly. Start quickly. Of course, obvious things of safety and love, that is you give them the necessary resources, shelter, sleep, all these things. But parents are supposed to give you these resources, all this stuff. It diminishes over time. It diminishes over time. When they're babies, you pour it on. You get all the food and drink and sleep and rest and all you need. As they age, it's an inverse relationship. So as they age, you are diminishing how much you provide these resources to get them ready for reality.
An example of that might be they get their own snack or drink,
Yeah, get their own
or you have them help you get dinner ready by putting things out on the table, things like that. So you begin to have them do more. Help with their laundry.
Yeah, so in an age-appropriate way. Can they get their own drink? Let them get it. Can they get have they been taught, right? Now, every kid's different. Everyone has different learning styles. I get it. But you as the parent know the best in general to say, I think they're ready for this. Let them try this. Let them try this.
Yeah.
So Hayden was 2 years old. I said, get yourself to school by yourself. Find the school bus. I didn't tell him that. It's time to get a job, son. TikTok, you're 6.
But we did put age-appropriate snacks on the bottom shelf.
That's
so
right,
they
I
could get
did.
them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which obviously means Pop-Tarts. And as soon as he could open them, when I was real little, I used to open up Pop-Tarts ahead of time and put a bottle on the table downstairs.
Sippy cup.
Oh, a sippy, yeah, not like a, yeah.
So we could sleep.
You know, Saturday mornings, it bought me at least an hour. Oh,
Yeah.
man, it was good.
It's true.
And that was good stuff. What worked is you give them a lot of Benadryl. No, that's a different sermon series.
It's true.
Okay.
When you think about real quick, the baseline, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you've
Yeah.
ever seen that before, it's a big triangle. And the basic one is, your physical needs, your food, your shelter, all those. The next one up is that feeling of emotional safety. And we forget that oftentimes. And so we leave that out with kids and we scare them, we intimidate them, or other people do, and we don't protect them.
That's right.
So we need to remember that.
You need to really know.
Basic needs.
Yeah, we're going to move on quickly, unfortunately, but discipline. Discipline, they need it badly. Now, discipline usually refers in people's mind getting beaten or spanked or it's bad. Discipline's a bad word. I'm sorry that it is because it's not a bad word. So maybe I can use a different word for you. I was trying to think of what's a better way to express this without evoking badness. Maybe ways to help them have boundaries and order in life, but I like the word discipline because I'm a nerd. I know the Latin and Greek. It refers to correction, guidance, instruction. Right?
Even pre-guidance, because
Even
it's not just
pre-guidance.
punishment. That's a piece of it, but punishment
Right.
is not discipline. It's
Absolutely.
different.
So that may be the last kind of punishment. Yeah, punishment is punitive, right? It's you've done something wrong, you're going to get paid for it. That's not what discipline really is. You teach them right, wrong. This is
Yeah.
right, that's wrong. You correct their behavior. You set boundaries. And the most important thing is you're establishing appropriate consequences to choices.
Yeah.
That's the appropriate thing. So, for example, the right wrong depends on your particular culture and family, but certainly in Christianity, there are certain things that are appropriate, things not appropriate. We teach them that stuff. From little silly things like etiquette, right, in the South.
We say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir,
Yeah.
no, sir. So we taught our kids that.
Yeah, because in the South, we
I
express.
know it's different in the Midwest,
Yeah,
but our kids
it's a
do.
real big deal in the South to express honor.
Yeah.
And so the way we express honor is titles and so forth. Other things matter. So we teach them that stuff. We just
Say
express
thank
honor.
you, say please.
Yeah.
Those are,
If someone talks to you,
universal.
you look back at them and say something. You don't ignore them. You don't say yeah. You say, yes or no. Those are simple little etiquette things. Then there are things, of course, that are a bigger deal. We teach Christian values. We'll talk more about that later. The consequences are where most parents, in my experience, in our experience, kind of get off track. Most people, the sense of right, wrong, we teach them, and that's fine. It's the consequences.
I think the one thing
So-
where I see parents err a lot is by not telling them certain things. So
Yeah.
I know you talked recently about, sexuality and what that should look like. It should be in a marriage between a man and a woman. And parents often don't have that talk, right, until the kids are older. We need to be telling them all along, this is your body. You need to protect your body. Don't do these things until you're married, that kind of thing. We need to tell them, you don't drink alcohol. I don't care if all your friends are drinking alcohol. First of all, you're underage. Second of all, we don't know what you can handle. Telling them, setting up boundaries and guidelines. And if we don't say it, there's no need for them to not do it because they don't know. They're going to go along with what their friends do. So we've got to say it.
That's exactly right. We teach them that right now.
And that's Christian. It's different than secular. So what they're learning from their friends and their buddies is very different in the social media, very different than the things we teach. And it's going to sound weird. And sometimes we've said to our kids, I know this sounds weird. And most of your friends are not going to do this, but you're not supposed to have sex until you're married. It's going to be weird. But that's what you're going to do, right? And they have to decide that for themselves. But we've told them that since they were young.
And praise God, it sounds less weird because they've heard it from this age all the way up.
Yeah.
But I know they got older, it does sure. Okay, real quick, I want to wrap up on this. So here are some couple things, and this is all through the Bible about giving discipline. We see this all through Proverbs. The one who spares the rod hates his child. It's like a spanking thing, but the one who loves his child is diligent in disciplining him. Discipline your child, for there's hope. Don't set your head on causing his death. Folly is bound up in the heart of a child, but the rod of discipline will drive it far from him. Don't withhold discipline from a child. Even if you strike him with a rod, it's not going to kill him. That's my favorite. I'm sorry, maybe it's a sick. He won't die. I mean, that's a metaphor. The point is, he's not going to kill him. Discipline won't hurt your kid. So we see this in the New Testament as well. Paul says in Ephesians 6, children, to obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Let us trust their discipline of right and wrong. Fathers, the ones who do most of the disciplining, don't do that to provoke them.
I used to use that one to my dad.
She did. Fathers don't, because he would
Don't
say,
provoke your children to anger.
obey your parents. And little Lane, snotty Lane,
Children, fathers, don't provoke your children to anger.
ooh, a Bible standoff. And she turned out well. Fathers, don't do that. You're not using discipline, and the Greek word provoke is something like to cause to resent. You're not doing this to cause them to resent you.
And you
That's
can
not why
say
you do it.
that. I'm doing this because I want you to develop Christian
Oh,
character. I
absolutely.
want you to be like Jesus. Tell them why you're
That's what
disciplining them.
consequences are for.
Yeah.
Same thing in Colossians. So here's some appropriate consequences teach boundaries. And children are not born with boundaries. So for example, if you take that toy, if we teach this, we take that, that's his toy, but if you take that toy, you'll lose both your toys. You'll have to go in time out. It teaches the boundary of its property boundary. That's not yours, it's his. So consequences of losing something, these are so forth, these things help very much a person realize, oh, there's boundaries in life.
Physical boundaries, like with kids when they're little, they're in a crib, then a pack and play, baby gates. As they get a little bit older, you might have cabinet locks on the ones that have the cleaners, but on the ones with Tupperware, it doesn't have a cabinet lock. That's okay, and that's not.
Yeah, so you're expanding the boundaries for the child as they get older. It also, appropriate consequences teach the kids that it's their problem to deal with. It's not the parent's job to come to the rescue. A lot of parents, particularly moms, are rescuers. A rescuer is a person who has a chronic disposition to help prevent their child from suffering any distress. If they're going to be upset at all, I've got to make sure they don't feel that. And so I come to the rescue. Sometimes they're called helicopter parents. Raise your hand if you know one. Not that you're one. Okay, yeah, I know. I know.
Let me solve it before the problem comes along. Red's got his hand up.
So we need to teach these kids that just because they're uncomfortable means they don't have to quit.
Yeah.
No, that's right. It's their problem. They can solve this. Now, we're there to be their advisor and source, but consequences teach them that. So if you lose, if you don't study your homework, you don't prepare for the test, and you get a bad grade, you'll lose these things in grounding. The consequence is a natural outworking of that. It teaches them, oh, so my preparation for the test makes a difference in the world. Yes. If I come to the rescue all the time, I'm just going to cuss out that teacher and talk to that principal and tell them to change her. The kids will think nothing I do really matters because they're going to come to the rescue. It doesn't really matter what
I think
do.
even when they're teeny tiny, like we've seen, and it makes me so upset, but when you see kids, little kids, and they hit their parents, and the parents don't do anything. They either don't do anything or they say, don't. Oh, and I'm like, oh, you need to tell that kid that is not okay. Because then they're learning, if I can hit my mom or my dad, I can hit everybody. And so it's taking them away from whatever it is that they're, whether it's taking the thing away or taking them away from. If my kid hit me, I'd say no. And I'd physically put them away from me. So those kinds of things. It's just teaching them from a young age. And as they get older, you went inappropriate places on your phone. Guess what? Your phone is mine.
It was
those
always
sorts of
mine.
things. Yeah.
That's right.
But
yeah.
it's mine for a week
Yeah,
or
that's
whatever
right.
it is.
I tell them all the time. That's right. Don't ever forget. Everything in this home, even you.
Spend all the money, you can't buy any toys.
That's right. Appropriate consequences, we're almost done, are not psychological or relational. Guilt messages, nagging, being screamed at, cussed at, withdrawing. See, children are terrified of abandonment or rage. Most parents think proper consequences is to yell at them until they stop. What you've done is made them terrified and like a wounded, because they are now a wounded little puppy child, they'll give in so that the relationship can be restored. What they've not learned is not to do the behavior. I've seen dads grab their kids by the shirt, pull and go, I told you to blah, blah, blah. And I've watched the kids, first off, it's extremely inappropriate. It's bullying behavior. And I've seen the kids look off days of like, and that's called disassociation. They're training them to do this stuff. So those are not appropriate consequences. When you raise your voice and scream and nag, and I told you, and glad to hear from you, I'm almost dead. You hadn't called me in so long. These things are not appropriate consequences. So what I call are logical consequences or reality consequences, things that deal with reality. For example, experiencing normal logical pain or losing time, losing money, like you do in the real world. Like in the real world. If you don't show up for work, you get fired.
And yet we see kids all the time on video, like younger, 20s or whatever, like, I don't have a break today, or I can't be, like they said, what is it about being late? There's like they're making it like a real thing.
Yeah, I don't know. No.
Like a problem. Like it should be treated okay if I'm late because I have a problem with it. Instead, it's those natural consequences, and it's different even today because I think because of the parenting that's been giving more and enabling more and rescuing more and entitlement, and so then the kids are raised like that, and it's sad.
So think about what would be a reality or logical consequence of that, of course. And of course, it's always age appropriate.
Sure.
It's age appropriate. So for example, when they were little, Lane taught me too that they're in timeout roughly
a minute based on their age. So if you're 5, you get 5 minutes of timeout. It's not a million years. It's 5 minutes.
Roughly.
They don't have long attention span, so you want to be respectful of that.
Yeah, so Julia's on grounding. She sits on a timeout for 16 minutes.
16 and a half minutes, really,
which is torture for her.
The timeout chair with the clock. Yeah.
Is that right?
No, but really, you have to think about what their currency is. That's the
That's
word
right,
that
the
we use on
currency.
our home, a currency. So you have the story about your friend with ice cream,
Oh yeah, Jason Thornton. I loved him. Yeah, he loved ice cream. So when they got grounded, he lost ice cream.
and he was how old?
32. No, he was.
Like a
He was
teenager,
teen,
right?
oh yeah, kid. Yeah, 15.
He would
14,
get
15.
grounded from ice cream and get really upset.
And legit upset. I lost ice cream, man. Because he seen those cheap old gallon containers in front of the TV and just. He was skin and bone.
So whatever it is for them, if it's their Legos, if it's their phone, if it's their whatever, the currency, you're hanging
Work
out
with
with
the
your
currency.
friends, whatever that is, because that's going to sting, and that's what they understand.
And how that teaches their character, that's what happens. If I know I shouldn't do it and I've been instructed appropriately, I understood it, and I rebelled against it, there are natural consequences of that.
Just like if we speed and get a ticket, we got to pay a ticket.
And we empathize with them. Yeah, I'm sorry you're upset. I was upset too when I didn't obey the rules. I'm sorry you couldn't go to that party. I bet you are sad. I'd be sad too if I couldn't go to that party. Man, me too. Anything else? I'm not yelling. I'm not cussing. I'm not screaming. I'm not, I told you, but I told you, this is your fault. Yeah. Remember how we talked about that? Remember? Can I tell them the 1, 2, 3 story at the end?
Sure.
We're out of time now. With Hayden, when he was little, and Joey too, Hayden was so full of energy, and we had the quote unquote terrible threes, not twos. And just he pushed the boundary, just like his mom. And so I'm kidding. And so he'd run off sometimes. I would teach him. I want to get to the place where I go 1, 2, 3. 3 means I think I had a timeout.
Lockdown. A
Lockdown.
timeout
I
talk.
got a timeout talk. That's a come to Jesus. He didn't want a timeout talk. And I made sure
If we were in
that.
a store, you take them to the bathroom. And
So
you
yeah, we
scare 'em.
have some talk. So I got trained at home, and but the thing is, when you get to 3, it's got to be real
Gotta mean it,
consequences.
yeah.
You got to mean it, consistent. And I knew the day I was successful. I was so glad. I was at Walmart in Kansas, and it was busy, and his little habit lately was to get up and run off as fast as he could and turn around and go, and so he ran off, and we talked the whole time because we know what's coming, son. The right consequences. When you get in here, holding his hand, do not run off. Okay. Don't do it. Okay, stay with us, baby. I love you. Just stay with. Okay. He goes in the store. Boom, he runs off. He runs probably, it must have been 100 feet. Right in between the aisle, people checking them out, and he runs in front. He turns around and looks at me, he does it again, and I look at him, and boy, my temper. I thought, here we go. I warned him. I just looked right at him. No screaming, cussing. I just went. He kept staring at me, and I went, 2. And on 2, he went, when I was holding my hand up, and I went, don't run off again. He goes, okay, yes, sir. Held my hand and walked. Inside, the angels were singing.
That's when you should get an award as a parent,
Oh,
right?
thank you, Jesus.
It's
That
the
was
trophy.
it.
You did it.
The whole rest of the time. And from then on, in McDonald's store, we're out of time. I got all kinds of stories. Praise God. Okay, we're out of time today.